There is one subject that many people speak in YouTube, many metal YouTubers about the lists of the albums that brought them close to black metal. The albums that they were the hooks, that because of them they started to be black metalers. So there are black metalists. So there are people that they speak about 20 albums, others they speak about 15 albums. In any case, I will speak here also about my 21st black metal albums that because of them today I listen to black metal and I love black metal. And also I have to say that these are not the only my beloved albums of black, and they are not only the best albums of black metal in my opinion. Of course, some of them they are, but they are the first hooks. So let's start. For me, the first even black metal album that I listened, it was the first EP of Cradle of Filth by the name Vampire of Dark Fairy Tales. This was the first EP between the first studio and the second studio album of them, and I became a metalhead in the years of between 94 95. So the most albums of here they are in the half of the late 90s. Another very good hook of black metal for me was the third album of Dimmu Borgir, majestic black metal from Norway, Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, of course. Another band from Belgium, Ancient Rites. Ancient Rites, they played always something between black and thrash metal with some epic elements and folk elements in their music. And their second album, Blasphemia Eternal. Now, one of the most famous Swedish black metal bands, also the haters and the elitists, they don't like them, as they don't like Dimmu Borgir or Cradle of Filth. And I'm speaking about Dark Funeral and their second album, Vobiscum Satanas. Now, a very true Norwegian black metal disc and album, the second album of Burzum. Dead Som Engang Var, and for me this was one of the most extreme style of music that I listened in these years. A great album. And now one of my biggest favorites of all time, the second album of Dissection from Sweden, Swedish black metal, Storm of the Lights, Bane, of course. I continue with Sweden and with Bathory. Bathory, they are the forefathers, let's say, of the true black metal, and their masterpiece, Blood, Fire, Death. This was also my first Bathory album that I listened at all. I am from Greece, so let's speak about Greek black metal, Rotting Christ, of course. And I listened in the beginning a little bit their second album, Non Serviam, but even more their third album, Triarchy of the Last Lovers. Now, another band from Germany, also a style between majestic black metal and gothic metal, Agathodemon, and their album Higher Art of Rebellion. Another Greek band, an all-female black metal band from Greece, Astarte, and their third album, Rise from Within. Now, one American band from United States, and they were something between black and thrash metal, Apsu, and their EP by the name In the Eyes of Yoldanach. This was my first Apsu work that I listened, and it was a killer. Another true Norwegian black metal album, the second album of Dark Throne from Norway, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. And then continue with Norway, Thorns, and the only studio debut album of them, the one and the only album of them by the name Thorns. Here we can listen also the black metal with industrial elements. People call it as intelligent black metal, something very special. And then continue with Norway, the first studio album of Emperor, In the Night Side Eclipse, a great majestic black metal album. Now, a band from Sweden that only the first album they played something as, let's say, a melodic black metal, but afterwards they became thrash metal. So I'm speaking about Raise Hell from Sweden and their first debut album, Holy Darkset. Now, another great band from England. They're not exactly black metal, they're something between epic black, something like that. And I'm speaking about Bal Sagoth and their second album, Starfire Burning upon the highest veiled throne of Ultima Thule. And another band from Austria, if I'm not sure, they played a style in their first album, in their first debut album. They had only 2 albums. In their second album, they became gothic metal, but in their first album, they played something between atmospheric black metal and epic metal, very common and close to summoning. And I'm speaking about Raven Throne of Pazuzu and their first debut album, Malice in Waterland. Great album. People that they like very much summoning, they have also to try to find this specific album. Now, one of my great and favorite Norwegian black metal bands, Immortal, and their album And the Heart of Winter. A great killer album of black metal. And then continue with 2 other works also from Norway. Enslaved. They are one of the first pagan Viking black metal bands. Enslaved with this album of them, Blood Hymn. And at last but not least, another Norwegian band that in the beginning they played majestic black metal, afterwards they became a little bit more thrashy. And I speak about Gehenna and their second album of them, but it was a second studio album of them, but it was their third work after the first EP of them, Malish, also known by the name Third Spell of Gehenna. Great majestic black metal album from Norway. So this was the great first black metal albums that brought me to the world of black metal from Israel, from Jerusalem. Stay metal and stay heavy.